What if I told you that the year's most bombshell audio leak and filtered, uncensored, and never intended to reach the general public just came out? Yes, exactly. Still in awe after Chrissy's surprise wedding announcement, Jim Jones didn't simply barge backstage and remain silent. Oh no, the audience may no longer see the cameras, but what about the microphones? They didn't ever shut off. The internet is suddenly on fire as the unadulterated truth, anger, the heartache, and the rage leaked online. Jim Jones doesn't hold back in this audio leak. He specifically calls out Chrissy's hubby. Through the mud, he pulls him along. He lets out years of repressed treachery. Jealousy, regret, and all of this are captured in a recording so unvarnished that, if it ever airs in its entirety, insiders are referring to it as career suicide. However, the clip has already gotten out. It's being replayed by fans. It is being dissected by blogs. Twitter is ablaze. Was everyone afraid of a meltdown like this? Or was it when Jim finally revealed the information that producers had been making an effort to hide for years? The worst part is that Chrissy's spouse, who is at the heart of all of this turmoil, could not be the naive, fresh start she portrayed him as. According to sources, he is concealing information that might completely upend this story. It's no longer just reality TV. This is a real-time spiral of life. You won't have the same perspective on Chrissy or her new marriage after listening to what Jim stated in that audio leak. The internet is still in shock over what insiders are describing as the most startling microphone leak in the history of reality television. Imagine the scene. Jim Jones leaves without saying much to the cameras. The stage lights go down and the set clears out following Chrissy's shocking wedding announcement. He appeared composed. Too quiet, almost. Supporters believed he had accepted the situation, perhaps even swallowed it. However, they were unaware, and nobody should have known that his microphone was still operational. And in the dimness of that backstage corridor, Jim Jones erupted in a fury that producers have been attempting to hide for more than 10 years. The audio has now been leaked. The entire video, according to insiders, is around 5 minutes long. With 14 seconds of pure venom already going viral, Chrissy's new marriage, friendships, and reputation might all be ruined in 5 minutes. Jim is the first to pace. Like a man bearing the burden of treachery, you can hear his boots scraping the floor with heavy, uneven strides. He mutters to himself in a low voice at first. Then it bursts, sharper and louder. She married that clown. Is that the man? She picked that person over me. There is no denying the suffering. Then it changes, though. Something darker is captured in the sounds. Jim challenges Chrissy's choice head-on rather than merely raising doubts about it. He lashes out at her husband, calling him a background character trying to wear my crown. A man built on brunch dates and borrowed swagger. That last sentence alone ignited Twitter. Fans slowed it down, memed it, and replayed it. However, it wasn't even that bad. Jim's tirade goes much beyond a case of injured pride, according to insider leaks from the production room. He begins revealing details about Chrissy's new husband's past, including the names of industry contacts and indications about a past that the public was never meant to learn about. In the excerpt that was leaked, Jim states he's been around. He has been circling, waiting for me to slide, always in the cut. She was aware of it. She allowed him to stay. Do you know how explosive that is? She allowed him to close. If Jim is correct, this isn't a frenzied romance that Chrissy just threw on the public. This might be a secret plot that the creators purposefully kept off camera, a betrayal that has been simmering for years. This is where it becomes even juicier. Anonymous sources who claim to be close to the cast started sending receipts in direct messages within hours of the disclosure. Screenshots of vintage images, blurry backgrounds from recordings of love and hip-hop, long before the wedding was revealed. There were alleged sightings of Chrissy with this unidentified man. One fan displayed a freeze frame from a 2014 reunion episode in which a man in the audience bore a striking resemblance to the husband in question. He was linked to another discovered Instagram comment from a burner account that left mysterious fire emojis. Beneath Chrissy's posts from years ago, the internet suddenly came up with a theory. Has this man been observing, waiting, and scheming to get into Chrissy's life all along? And did Jim know if that's the case? Was he suspicious? Is this the reason his tirade backstage felt so angry and personal? The insults are not the end of the clip. Jim apparently has a complete breakdown, oscillating between sadness and wrath. He continues, "After all I gave her, after all I built, she went and tied herself to him." At one point, his voice falters nearly completely. "I'm worth that much. That's what I get for being loyal." It's more than simply rage. It's destruction. The destruction that results when someone who always believed he would have the final say suddenly learns he doesn't. Fans heard it too. They sensed it. It was encapsulated in one tweet that went viral. That isn't Jim the rapper. That's Jimmy the man broken, resentful and hurt. However, Jim's tone became deadly just when viewers believed the clip had peaked emotionally. He ceased his pacing. The pause and the silence are audible. "I know things about him," he continued, "things she is unaware of. The cliffhanger that has the entire culture rocked is things she doesn't want to know." The producers are in a frenzy. Within an hour after the tape surfaced, there was an emergency meeting, according to leaks from within VH1's editing room. Executives fear that the complete recording will be made public. Why? Because this is no longer just reality TV drama if Jim actually had information on Chrissy's marriage and shared it in that backstage tirade. This is scandalous. This is destroying one's reputation. However, the internet digs deeper the more governments try to limit it. Globally popular hashtags are hashtag Chris SYS husband and hashtag Jim leak. His voice is being looped over languid, dramatic music in TikTok edits. Celebrities are also contributing. In a mysterious tweet, Remy Ma wrote, "Mike's always on." In a blog post regarding the leak, Cardi B included a laughing emoji, which is why she always keeps herself prepared. A meme about Jim auditioning for Love and Hip Hop. Heartbreak Edition was purportedly uploaded and removed by 50 Cent, who is known for avoiding ugly controversy. However, not all of the responses were amusing. After remaining quiet since her wedding announcement, Chrissy eventually made contact, within hours of the recording appearing on the blogs. Fans saw that she had unfollowed Jim. She also shared a picture of her hand with the wedding band on it, captioning it, "Solid where it matters," which was subtle but powerful. Was it a retort? A cautionary tale? Or a statement that she won't look back regardless of what Jim says? According to insiders, Chrissy's husband, who the public still doesn't fully understand, was incensed upon learning of the leak. According to an unnamed production insider, he addressed the producers right away and demanded that they clean this up before things got out of hand. The genie is out of the bottle though, let's face it. There is no end in sight to this story. This is the most unsettling aspect. An individual who claims to have heard the entire 5-minute audio claims that Jim did more than just make fun of Chrissy's spouse. He allegedly charged him with betrayal, double-crossing, and actions that extend beyond interpersonal connections to include allegiance to the street, business, and money. He wants more than simply her. Jim allegedly remarked, "He wants my seat." It will not just be a controversy if the statement is ever fully leaked. It may also lead to a dispute that extends well beyond Love and Hip Hop. By the time the leaked excerpt ends, Jim is gasping for air, muttering to himself, and then rushing away. The slam of the door is audible. Whispers from crew members can be heard in the background. One even asks, "Is his microphone still on?" At that point, the clip ends. But what about the harm? Completed already. According to the internet, we have just begun. Jim's career, Chrissy's marriage, and possibly the show itself may never be able to recover if the rest leaks. What else did Jim Jones say when the camera stopped rolling, but the microphone was still hot? That concludes part 1, leaving one unsolved question that reverberates louder than the leak itself. The whole internet appeared to be at war the morning after the audio release. Like wildfires, comment sections were ablaze. What was supposed to be a private breakdown had turned into a public trial, with Chrissy's new husband already at the center of it. Twitter threads grew into hundreds of posts. TikTok creators were lip-syncing Jim's words with dramatic reenactments, and blogs were updating their feeds every hour with new insider updates. The world was investigating the man who allegedly took the lady Jim had once called his forever. They slowed down footage, zoomed into backgrounds, and examined side profiles while pulling old reunion movies, party pictures, and grainy paparazzi shots. Then suddenly, a hazy but unmistakable still image from a 2015 LHHNY afterparty appeared, while Chrissy and Emily B are in the forefront. A man wearing a white button-up with a low Caesar cut is almost cropped out in the distant distance. That man remarkably resembled Chrissy's spouse, who had entered her life out of the blue. As fans circled his face and froze the photo, the hashtags #ChrisSYS and hashtag he was always there began to trend. If it wasn't enough to ignite the culture, the blogs added fuel to the flames. An anonymous cousin of Jim's uploaded what appeared to be direct messages on a popular gossip website. The message was straightforward. We all knew she stayed in contact with him. Jimmy simply dismissed it as unimportant. I guess not. That one leak changed the course of events. Fans had been making fun of Jim's vulnerability up until that point, mocking him for finally taking responsibility for his actions after years of dragging Chrissy along. Now, though, people were now questioning whether this was a betrayal that had been planned all along. Jim's audio suddenly had context. Fans began to believe him when he said, "He's been circling, waiting for me to slip." Receipts were beginning to accumulate, and the internet loves them. Screenshots from burner accounts from as far back as 2018 showed Chrissy's alleged spouse adding fire emojis beneath her photos. Fans froze the screen, slowed it down, and swore the voice that chuckled in the background matched the mystery husband's, until an old interview tape where Chrissy casually talked about an old friend who always supported her when others didn't reappeared. Chrissy, meanwhile, was too silent. Her quiet turned into a statement in and of itself. Fans were divided as Chrissy shared only carefully chosen serene photos, her ring hand, a shot of champagne, and the comment, "Peace is priceless," while Jim was losing it, uploading cryptic lives and muttering about betrayal. She had finally chosen herself and was done playing victim, according to half, who commended her poise. The society was divided, and that division only served to feed the upheaval. The other side accused her of manipulating others and of smiling through a betrayal she planned. The next shocking revelation was that there was additional audio. Another clip leaked late that evening. This one is considerably more destructive, longer, and sharper. Jim spoke in a low, grave voice. She thinks he can protect her. He is unable to defend himself. I am aware of his origins. I am aware of his actions. That statement struck like a bullet. She's playing with a man who has skeletons louder than mine. In a matter of minutes, theories were flying. What was Jim trying to say? Did the world not know about Chrissy's new husband's past? Was Jim implying a secret that may destroy her new marriage before it had even begun? Or was this just resentful jealousy? An unnamed production assistant claimed to have heard the raw audio when they slipped into the inbox of a gossip page. According to them, Jim implied that Chrissy's husband was more than simply an old buddy. He had connections to street money, business dealings, and loyalties that made it difficult to distinguish between personal and professional relationships. Lawsuits would fly if VH1 ever aired that, the insider wrote. He appears unclean as a result. She appears worse as a result. At this point, Twitter was a war zone. Fans were debating like attorneys in a case, not just chatting among themselves. Supporters of #Team Jim, said Chrissy, had deceived him by having an affair behind his back with a man he had once thought of as belonging to his inner circle. Supporters of #Team Chrissy retorted that Jim was rewriting history to stroke his bruised ego and was resentful and envious. Then there were the neutral fans, who just sat back with popcorn and wrote things like, Love and hip-hop doesn't need scripts anymore, and posted memes. These folks compose their own stories. However, the narrative would not end there. Celebrities began to comment. A meme of Jim looking broken was reposted by 50 Cent, who is often the one to instigate a fight, with the message, "This is what happens when you play house too long," before being removed. The post alone received almost 500,000 likes. Somebody else moves in. When Remy Ma went live, she said, "Ladies, don't let any man waste your years without mentioning names. Additionally, avoid letting your tranquility develop into retaliation. That's a risky game." Her remarks were instantly associated with Chrissy by fans. "Mic's always on, y'all better whisper in sign language," Cardi B joked on Twitter. Fat Joe also shared a mysterious Instagram story with the caption, "Sometimes loyalty doesn't pay the bills, but betrayal doesn't build a future either." Every post, response, and meme added fuel to the flames. Jim was no longer merely battling Chrissy. The whole story of his legacy was against him. For more than 10 years, Jim and Chrissy were the quintessential love and hip-hop couple, flawed, messy and passionate, but authentic. Now, that blueprint had been destroyed and burned overnight. And in its stead was a plot that made her appear strong but perhaps cunning, and him look desolate and resentful. Behind the scenes, producers were in full crisis mode. The network discussed whether to release the entire recording or bury it forever, according to a strangely leaked email correspondence that appeared on the blogs. According to reports, one executive wrote, "This is dynamite. Gold ratings." Another said, "We don't need the full clip, but if the husband sues, we're done." Already, the fans are drawing their own assumptions. That's the nasty reality of reality TV. Sometimes the producers don't need to control the narrative. Let the anarchy feed itself. All the work is done by the leaks. Here, however, things became more frightening. In an Instagram live that lasted 6 minutes, Jim Jones himself broke his silence. His eyes were bloodshot and his cheeks were swollen. What did he say? They were eerie. "I was genuine, even though I wasn't flawless. She is aware of that. I'm not performing for the cameras. What are you all hearing? And tell him I know who he is." His voice broke, and he leaned forward, looking into the camera. "That's me realizing the person I trusted the most. She already had a plan B and maybe a plan C. I am aware of his actions, and if I have to, I'm not afraid to discuss it." Boom. The internet went into yet another frenzy after reading that one statement. Was Chrissy's spouse in danger from Jim? Was he going to reveal him? Or was this only a man's anguish finally being captured on camera? Fans had stopped laughing by the end of the live stream. They were afraid of what could happen next. Because in the world of hip-hop, words may quickly become deeds when pride, betrayal, and heartbreak combine. The culture was aware of it. Blogs began to warn, "This is no longer just TV drama. This seems intimate. Dangerous individuals." As the dust settled, a last leak surfaced. A screenshot of a text message purportedly sent by Chrissy to a close friend that said, "He can rant all he wants. He's free to release anything he wants. I am no longer his at the end of the day." And more than anything, he said, that is killing him. The cliffhanger was thus established. Jim's audio suggested that there were still unspoken secrets. Chrissy's defiance was implied by her silence. What about Chrissy's spouse? He was still silent. However, insiders claim he is on the verge of doing so, and the revelation might destroy everything. The question that remains unanswered in part 2 is straightforward but lethal. What is Chrissy's new husband concealing? And will Jim Jones be the one to reveal it? He was the one trending by the time the sun rose the following morning. Not Chrissy or Jim Jones. The internet's primary focus was now Chrissy's enigmatic new spouse. The man who had suddenly gone from a little-known background character to a front-page bombshell. The memes were inverted. It was hashtag who is she and hashtag expose the husband instead of just hashtag Team Chrissy versus hashtag Team Jim. Additionally, the internet continues to search for solutions until the bones are reduced to dust. for solutions until the bones are reduced to dust. Following Chrissy's wedding reveal, a blurry cell phone video from backstage caused the first domino to fall. Jim was shown in the video rushing down a hallway with his eyes burning and his voice high. A man is heard off-camera stating, "She's my wife now. Respect it." Jim's voice then sounded like thunder. "Wife, you are simply my understudy." The audience let out a gasp. You've been waiting years to walk in shoes you can't fill. Even though there was no good video of the husband, that one sentence went viral on social media. Everyone wanted to hear Jim's fury in its entirety, so fans slowed it down, clipped it, and subtitled it. The full leaked audio was the real grenade, though. Jim's statements were darker, harsher, and more venomous in this version. "You're not her salvation. You are not her guardian. You are simply the rebound who was left waiting too long. You'd better hope I don't reveal your true identity to others." Now, do you suppose they're clowning me? It was no longer heartbreak to wait until they learned about you. That constituted a threat. Headlines flooded blogs. Chrissy's husband is accused by Jim Jones of concealing a dark past. Audio leaks imply betrayal in Jim's inner circle. Jim versus Chrissy's husband. From love triangle to war, Chrissy remained mute, but her husband eventually broke his. Late that evening, a brief, hazy Instagram live that was obviously recorded in the midst of pandemonium surfaced under his account. His eyes showed nervousness, yet his remarks were defensive and arrogant. He looked directly into the camera and declared, "I'm not here to play games with the past. She is now my wife." For a period, Jim had his opportunity. It lasted for 15 years. Let him cry into microphones if that's what he wants to do. Never assume, however, that I'm afraid of what he has to say. My hands are clean. My life is tidy. He was chaos, and I am tranquility, which is why she picked me. Fans first cheered. The spouse had finally said something. However, doubters quickly overtook the comments. "Calm? So, man? Why are you perspiring so much?" One wrote, "If your life is clean, why is Jim saying he has dirt on you?" Said another. After only 6 minutes, the spouse abruptly halted the live stream by logging out in the middle of a statement as the comments descended into thousands of allegations. The storm was not calmed by that shaky performance. It put gasoline on it, if anything. Twitter investigators discovered old pictures of the husband at parties connected to Dipset affiliates in a matter of hours. Claims of business deals that weren't as pure as he said followed. Once more, the story changed. Perhaps Jim wasn't merely resentful. Perhaps he was correct. At the same time, VH1 producers were in a panic. According to anonymous leaks, urgent meetings were conducted to determine whether to remove any more footage of Chrissy and her husband. One source claims that the anxiety was about liability rather than just bad PR, the insider said. VH1 could get dragged for knowingly airing a fraud if Jim really exposes him, and it's true. Others said the incident was a ratings goldmine. According to reports, one executive stated, "This is bigger than a storyline. This is a time of culture. We cannot afford to not broadcast it." However, the mayhem was not content to remain on TV. There were rumors that Jim and Chrissy's spouses almost ran into each other at an industry party in Atlanta. Jim was photographed by paparazzi entering the event at around 10 p.m. and leaving 10 minutes later with a frown. Before he stormed out, witnesses claimed to have seen him mumble something to security. According to one story, he said, "Cameras won't save him if he steps to me tonight." That comment went viral despite being unconfirmed, solidifying the dispute as more than simply a television drama. Then the internet saw the most catastrophic leak to date. According to an anonymous allegation, Jim left a private voicemail on a mutual friend's phone. Jim's voice was husky, nearly broken, in the message. He whispered, "She was my life. The cameras don't matter to me. The memes don't interest me. But while you're still alive, you don't allow another man to wear your crown. That is a breach." The voicemail ended abruptly, but it had a devastating effect. Every phrase was analyzed by fans who saw it as either a subtle threat of violence or beautiful sadness. By this point, the cultural discussion was about what would happen next rather than who was right or wrong. Is Jim likely to reveal the husband's purported secrets? Was Chrissy going to speak up and defend her marriage at last? Or would the conflict escalate into something that the camera crew and producer couldn't control? Celebrities continued to pour in. Funk Flex called the husband a clown hiding in the shadows on the radio. Charlemagne called the feud the most love and hip-hop thing that ever love and hip-hopped. The Breakfast Club picked it up, framing it as hip-hop's most dramatic love triangle since Offset and Cardi. Even mainstream outlets like TMZ and Rolling Stone covered it. However, nothing could have prepared viewers for the shocking cliffhanger that occurred at the end of the week, whether authentic or fake. The photos went viral after a major gossip site published screenshots of purported emails between Chrissy's husband and a well-known Atlanta promoter. The communications alluded to money transfers, unreported transactions, and the menacing phrase, "Keep this quiet or Jimmy will know." In a matter of hours, #ReceiptGate became popular. Jim just captioned one of the screenshots. Told y'all, when he published it to his Instagram story. No more justification. Don't deny it. The civilization was rocked to its foundation by those words alone. Now the story had turned around once more. Did Chrissy's hubby have a criminal